Some of the most nastiest, bigoted, hateful, racist people in this country identify or label themselves as Christians. It's ironic, right? They have scripture in their bio, Jesus, God, America first, bald eagles, all these symbols. Why? Because their walk is a piss poor reflection of what Jesus stood for. The original MAGA was the Sanhedrin that crucified Jesus in the name of God. Because this Jesus guy refused to conform to their version of what they wanted to believe. They didn't just have a disagreement, they literally took his life. They were given a chance to pardon him with Pontius Pilate. What happened? You can release Jesus or Barabbas, who murders people, who's a felon, who is an insurrectionist, who gleefully joys about murdering Christians. And who did they choose? Barabbas. Saul, we want a king, we want a king, we want a king. 3 times. And God's like, okay, you want your earthly king? Have your earthly king. You know what happened in 1 Samuel 12? Please, sorry, we don't want a king, we're just kidding, ha 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 ha. They lived in poverty. The economy went to crap. They were enslaved. 2016, we want a king. 2020, we want a king. 2024, we want a king. You see the similarities? You cannot serve 2 masters. You cannot say, I love my neighbor as myself, and I hate the Democrats. You cannot say that you're pro-life because it's Christ-like, and then vote for a man who is an adjudicated rapist who molests little girls and caused an insurrection that led to the death of 5 officers. You are walking oxymorons. MAGA is nothing more than modern-day Pharisees, religious hypocrites. MAGA wants to play God, not follow God. Think about that, because that's important. MAGA wants to play God, not follow God. They want to punish you, demonize you, tear you down until you are broken down and conform to our version of white Jesus Christianity. That's it. Abortion, because we're pro-life. Let's talk about that for a second. You don't care if the woman dies from giving childbirth. You don't care if there's fetal abnormalities detected and they lose the baby immediately after childbirth. In Texas, as an example for you pro-lifers, women have a 56% increased mortality rate. They're dying and the babies are dying because you took away the right to choose. Amber Thurman's dead because she didn't get her choice. 41,000 gun deaths last year. Thoughts and prayers. Nothing I can do here. 800,000 homeless. Oh, there's nothing we can do. 2/3 of this country live paycheck to paycheck. Nothing we can do. Universal health care? Nope, that's socialism. Let's give people SNAP benefits. No, we're going to blame the brown people because they're taking away our version of America. You call this a Christian nation? Really? Slavery? Jim Crow? You said that the Second Amendment is a God-given right? Did Jesus sign the Second Amendment? Maybe somebody can correct me because I didn't know Jesus came down from heaven. It's not. But we have a lot of stupid people that have concepts of brains in this country that don't have the ability to critical think. When you are fueled with hate and anger, and you are told your whole life, in the generation before, that the demon rats are of Satan, and they're all going to burn in hell, and they're from the devil, you live your entire life being the white victim. This has nothing to do with God or faith. It has to do with religion. I religiously brush my teeth. I religiously go to the gym. I religiously take a walk. That's what Christian nationalism is. White Christian nationalism. It's something you do. Ooh, look, I put a bald eagle in there. Faith is something you live. Doing this, making these videos, and losing friends and family, and standing on business, that's faith. Calling out what's happening, going down to protests and standing up for people's rights, feeding homeless people, donating to the homeless shelter at my church. That is faith. And you know what I don't do? I don't put it in my bio. Hey, I'm Paul Lance. I gave to homeless people today. Look at me. Give me a brownie. I don't do that because I don't need to. They put these symbols in their bio because they're a piss poor reflection of what Jesus stood for. They don't stand for Jesus. They stand for white supremacy. They just do. And when you create this generational inbreeding, right? You get stuff like, oh, his ear, which miraculously has recovered, by the way, because cartilage doesn't regrow. So this is, and I'm saying this because it's important to understand how dumb they are. So they believe that God stood by during the Holocaust, during Jim Crow, during slavery, during the Middle Passage, during Asian internment camps, during all these mass shootings in schools, during Wounded Knee, all these atrocities throughout the history of the world, that God just stood by and watched it happen. While black people were hanging in trees on a Sunday morning while white people took a picture outside of church, in this great Christian nation. But somehow, God came down and saved the child molester's, rapist, convicted felon's ear that can't even stay faithful to his wife. Just like they chose Barabbas over Jesus, they're choosing this once again. Barabbas, their earthly king. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot live in both light and darkness. But that's what they do. They live in darkness while pretending to live in the light. They are cosplay Christians, modern day Pharisees. My cat that licks his butt is more Christian than these people. In fact, I would argue by MAGA's definition of Christianity, which is you believe in God and you believe the Bible, that Satan is a Christian. He believes in God. He weaponizes the Bible. It's ironic that MAGA have more in common with Satan than Jesus. Isn't that funny? It's rich, isn't it? Because when you really think about it, it's true. It's sad, but it's true. They are the least moral people in this country. And it is rich. I'm going to say it again. The most kindest, empathetic, compassionate people in this country aren't even people that are of faith. Isn't it rich? The people that MAGA demonizes, radical left, they care about the overall good of society. Every 4 years, what do Republicans ask themselves? Because this actually goes to the crux of the problem. Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Is who better off? You. Oh, me. Me. That's right. Selfishness. You're supposed to love thy neighbor as thyself, but they only vote for themselves. They're living in a neighborhood where they're doing better, but everyone else isn't. Literally the antithesis of what they claim to believe. You're supposed to build your wealth in heaven. But what do they vote for every 4 years? I got more money. Eggs are cheaper. Gas is cheaper. Woo! Praise Jesus. Literally, God said to build your wealth in heaven. Compassion, kindness, empathy, helping the less needy, the less fortunate, helping and standing up for marginalized communities. But all you care about is, I got money. They are nothing more than modern day street whores for money. They are. Whores to capitalism. Are you not supposed to give to Caesar what is Caesar's? Are you not? Is it not easier for the camel to get through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get in heaven? And yet every 4 years, these self-proclaimed Christians vote for themselves alone, and only for money. I run a small business. In this last election, I knew that if Vice President Harris was elected, my taxes would go up. But you know what? I'm not a selfish prick. I voted for women's rights. I voted for immigrants' rights. I voted for, hopefully, universal health care, to reverse Citizens United, to tax the crap out of rich people, to help people start a small business. I voted for everybody else in this country except for me. That is what loving thy neighbor is. And you people in your red hats, you don't care about anybody but yourself. The best example, don't tread on me because this piece of gun makes me feel like an alpha male. But you won't do a damn thing when children are murdered in schools. There's nothing we can do. But if there's a tampon in a boy's bathroom, that's a bridge too far. If there's one transgender out of 200,000 playing in college sports, that's a bridge too far. Oh, did you see that guy go in the bathroom? I go to Comic-Cons. Men, women, not a damn problem. But this is the crap that you people get stuck on because you're not Christians. You're white supremacists that have weaponized religion to control people. And that's what it is. It is about control. That's it. Modern day Pharisees. Maybe MAGA, you should stop playing God because you're doing a piss poor job of it. And I'll leave you with this. On one hand, I am happy that Vice President Harris lost for this reason. Since 1619, white people have continued to kick the can of racism down the street. We have ignored it and ignored it and ignored it and ignored it. Now, there are consequences for not just the people that are actively racist, but the people that are sitting silently in your privilege, watching it happen because it didn't affect you. I believe that God sent Donald Trump here to expose the moral rot within his church, just like he hardened the heart of Pharaoh during the time of Moses. He is a useful idiot, and he is exposing this country for what it is. White supremacy, white male patriarchy. That's it. That these people worship a racist podcaster over people being murdered by guns. That if a 37-year-old woman is murdered with a 6-year-old, they rejoice and they celebrate. She deserves it. She deserves it. But a racist podcaster that questions black pilots, that says that dead Americans is worth the cost of the Second Amendment. Oh, is Justice Jackson a DEI hire? Oh, the whites are taking the blacks' jobs, the great white replacement theory. Do you know why they view him as a Christian? Because to them, that is their version of Christianity. A white male patriarchy. Go and look at everyone that you follow on social media on the right that are really, really out there, that are morally bankrupt, and look at it through that lens. And they will all be defending the white male patriarchy or profiting off of it. Clickbait, rage bait. Because that's what it is. That is what the racist podcaster stood for. The white male patriarchy. They are afraid of a white minority, and they will weaponize God and Jesus and their faith and hit you over the head with the Bible and a gold cross to maintain power, just like the original MAGA did when they crucified Jesus in the name of God. Have a good day.